minutes. And it is an honor to have you with us. We are very happy that you're in the studio as opposed to having a phone interview. You have written a book entitled All in America. Before we go to the book, Martin, honestly, I think it'll be much better if you give us a few introductory remarks. Who is Martin Asatrian?
Oh, thank you very much. First of all, thank you for having me on the show.
And if you use the other mic, it might even be better, and everybody will enjoy
all
your
right.
voice. Yes, much, much better.
Thank you very much for having me on the show. Vartan, you're a treasure here,
Thank you.
quite frankly, and everyone here. You've contributed so much for the Armenian community. But going back to what you said, those lovely remarks, but just to be more clear about it, I wrote a book because I want to memorialize some of the amazing things that have happened to my family and myself. I say only in America. It's really a quote given by Barack Obama in 2004 at the Democratic Convention. It's not a political statement. It's just, he said only a son of a goat herder could actually make it to the United States, or at that time a junior senator from Illinois. I think social mobility is really the key out of it, but it's not just financial. It's got to be emotional. It's about liberty, freedom. It's about only in America can someone come from the most plainest of backgrounds and reach the highest levels. I think that my story is not unique. Mm-hmm. I do think there's millions of stories out there. My goal was to inspire the young generation to take me as a blueprint and exceed me by 1,000 times, and that would make me super happy.
So who is Martin Asatrian? Give us that introductory few highlights of your life.
Well, I'm going to say it in most Armenian cultural terms. I'm the son of Barkev, who's my father, who had passed away. He had a good life in Armenia. Yerevan was a lovely place where he came. Unfortunately, he was under Soviet rule, and my father had some trouble doing basic things that here are considered commerce, that there are considered illegal. So I start off the book talking about my first recollections of Armenia as a young boy, seeing the fear in my dad's face as the KGB would bother him doing basic commerce. And my dad, with nothing, brought 3 kids to America. It's fearlessness, sacrificing everything for his family. So the book is really all about my dad's memory, but also it's parlaying into my son, who's 4 years old. One day he'll mature himself. His name is Young Barkev. And he'll read it and he'll say what his Armenian history is all about, what his ancestors went through. I think a lot of people don't memorialize how rich their histories are. And if it could educate the future generations and their generations, then they'll know where they came from. They'll know exactly where they're going. So the book is really just to put a small, tiny, tiny dent in our immigrant experience, which is the Armenian experience, which is the American experience. They're all inseparable. They're all the same thing. It's about the human spirit.
You know, Martin, this is a very interesting. You're so eloquent. You're a professor. You teach political science, or you're with students. There is this passion which you speak about. Speaking about in general about the Armenian community, honestly, we could say all in America, could the Armenian community survive and grow and prosper as it has? Comment.
Absolutely, absolutely. The Armenian community has done extremely well in America. If you look historically standpoint, the entrepreneurs we've had in the Armenian community, the innovations, the creations to American mosaic have been, it's unparalleled what we've done. We're a small group of people in the arts, in sports, in business, in education. The area that I want to stress the most is, I was on the show many years ago with you, and I predicted, and I said, I hope that more and more Armenians, young Armenians, men and boys, and women, go into the area of public service. It does not necessarily have to be like me, an elected official. It could be in the area of foreign policy and things like that. We were taught as a very young age, if you're not a doctor or a lawyer, you haven't made it. I got news for you. That was back then. The new future is in social media. The new future is in innovation and technology. I'd love to see in my lifetime an Armenian that's a U.S. senator or a U.S. president. That's these kind of little books are little sparks. There's a kid out there in 12 years old, whether in Detroit, in Glendale, or in New Jersey. That's the future, and I hope he's hearing this, so I wish you the best of luck.
You know, honestly, somebody is listening to us, and even if it's one person who we attack and we kind of make an impact on, that I'll be happy. But I'll always remember the words of Ken Khachigian. I think he was Reagan's speechwriter. And we were sitting somewhere, and he said, Vartan, who are you? What are you doing? We ended up talking, and he told me his story. When he first spoke about going into politics to his mom, he says, my mom started crying. She said, but that's the mentality, that's a culture we have out there. And I honestly think, I agree with you. But I also agree that there is a new generation that is much fearless, much more intelligent, much more educated, much more healthy, much more of everything. So I really believe we will have that generation move into the areas you so much want to. What do you think of the younger generation?
A lot of people are very down on my generation. I'm the complete opposite. I reverse engineer it. I think my generation, the younger generation, is outstanding. Outstanding.
I agree with you 100%.
They say, oh, they lack social skills, they lack this. All the critics say this and that. The reality is they're far more social, they're far more advanced innovatively in every regard. I'm up. If they were a stock, I'd bet heavy on the young Armenian generation, quite frankly.
You speak about wanting people to go into the public service. What is missing? What is the ingredient missing to accelerate that transformation?
Quite frankly, is kind of what you said, the reference to Ken. I think the parents, coming from lack of security, lack of financial stability, want practicality. They want the CPA, they want the lawyer, they want the doctor, the cardiologist. But I got news for you. That's not so practical anymore. What's really practical is do what you love, your passion. You wake up every single day doing what you love, you will grow. And the Armenians are so persistent, so smart. The sky's the limit for them. So I think what their parents need to do, and if there's any parents listening to me, please don't take this the wrong way. I have enormous respect for you. Please let your kids blossom in the area of the public domain, because the public domain is extremely rewarding. And trust me, if they love what they're doing, they'll rise right to the top, the cream of the top. There's no doubt about it.
What is it that you do that you enjoy, you have the passion for?
I do a lot of self-assessment. I self-audit myself. I make sure I don't get too high on myself. I constantly try to improve myself. I look in the mirror every day and stop lying to myself and try to be truthful as possible. Every single day, you got to say you're not as good as you were, and you got to improve the next day. And if everyone could do that every day, improve one tiny thing, and then memorialize it, make a metric, and hold yourself accountable to it, you're going to grow as a person.
This is really, I thought we were going to talk more about your book, honestly, and now this is really branching out. Tell us more about the book.
Talk about whatever you want, but
let's go back.
The book is great. Listen,
When did you decide to write the book?
I decided to write the book because there was a point where I said, I've been wanting to do this since I was at NYU. I always procrastinated, and one thing I've did, this self-improvement movement I'm going on, stop procrastinating, do it now. I actually sat down, pen and paper, with a bagel and a coffee and a Panera Bread, started writing, and I'm going to do it, and I did it, and I finished it, and it's very, very joyful. I actually encourage the first page of my book. Everybody has a book inside them.
Absolutely.
Way better than this one. So I finally got it done. I got news for you. I'm working on my second one, so I'm excited about it. It's really wonderful.
What is a very special story in the book, Only in America, whether it relates to Barkev, your dad, or the young Barkev, your son?
The irony, there's a lot. But one of them I put in there, it's a little bit of a chip on my shoulder. Some people say I have a boulder on my shoulder. But when my dad was selling hot dogs in the Fort Lee Englewood Cliffs area, some of the law enforcement officers would give us a hard time, rightfully so. We didn't have the right permits and so forth. Take that, my father was very generous, take that 25 years forward, and then I become a councilman of the very town that they were sort of, giving my dad a little bit of a hard time. He didn't have the right permits and so forth. And then ultimately became the police commissioner of Englewood Cliffs. So I think that's kind of interesting. That's really about social mobility on the highest level. And I don't know too many countries would allow
All
that.
in America.
Only in America. This really is it. And I'm not shamelessly promoting my book, but man, only in America. It really is profound and prolific. And I'm telling you, there's so many greater stories out there. I just wish they could put it to paper.
You know, everything you say is so interesting, so educational, and I love the way you said everybody has a book.
Yeah.
And I really, really would like you to encourage people, once again, in your own words. Everybody has a book, and what can they do with that book that they have within them?
Find out what obsesses in your mind all the time. That self-talk that you have in your head,
That's a
book. That's a book. It doesn't have to be about global things like
Absolutely.
me talking about only in America. It could talk about your love and your passion for health, for eating right, for working out. You know, the new wealth right now of our time is health. You know, Steve Jobs said the most expensive bed he ever slept in is in the hospital bed. So the new young people, this is why I think I'm high on them. They are cognizant of what they eat, and they work out, and they're going to live very long times. And so I think everybody should write their book and not hesitate. It could be any forms of art. Everybody is a human person, but they have an expression inside of them. They need to express it, and when they do, they feel great about it.
You know, I don't know if I'm sticking to the set questions, but they say education to an individual is what blood is to the body.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us about the education of the youth. What should they watch out for?
There's two things I'm going to talk about, the education and the miseducation. I think education in the sense that I got at New York University and law school, at Oxford, at the University of London, I had a thirst for knowledge. I had a thirst for learning and reading books and then go and see Shakespearean plays. I mean, things like, oh my God, Macbeth, and all these things that rocked my world, Merchant of Venice, unbelievable stuff that I got. But that generation may not be into that. But I'm telling you, reading and learning a day, a book a day should be the rule. They say an apple a day, I say a book a day. Whatever that may interest you, though. As far as miseducation is concerned, there's too much content. Is our greatest problem we have. There's too much information highway. On the information highway, there's too much information. So kids, young adults can get misled by too much information. They need to zone out 90% of the garbage that's on the internet and focus on the 5 to 10%. Because you could get distracted real easy in this world, real easy. And then you end up tossing 10, 15 years away on nothing. That's scary.
You know what I want to do? I want to take a short break because there are too many things that are crossing my mind. And we are talking to a young lawyer. His name is Martin Sartrian. He has written a book, his first book, and he tells us that there will be a second one. And the book we are discussing and branching out is entitled Only in America. Very soon we'll find out where we can also find the book. But please stay tuned.